This is apropos. Nobody in the inner circle is safe. That's how many political observers are interpreting Xi Jinping's decision to remove long-term ally General Zhang Youxia in the Chinese president's latest military purge. The move underlining that even close personal ties offer little protection when it comes to loyalty to the party leadership, and suggesting that a near-term attack on Taiwan may be less likely. Monty Francis has more.
He was once a close ally of President Xi Jinping, but China's top military officer, General Zhang Youxia, is out of a job and under investigation for allegedly violating the law. President Xi has carried out a campaign to purge the People's Liberation Army of those he perceives as disloyal or corrupt.
And so I think it shows that Xi is prepared to put his political mission above his sentiment for any particular individual, even someone that he knew and worked with in the past.
Dozens of other military leaders have also been removed in the purge. In this photo, you see General Zhang Shengmin, who has overseen the military purges for Xi, and on the right, General Liu Junli, who was also ousted over the weekend. But observers say nothing matches the magnitude of General Zhang Youxia's departure. The Chinese Defense Ministry has only said that he had committed serious violations of discipline and law. But the Wall Street Journal reported on Sunday that the 75-year-old military leader had been accused of selling nuclear secrets to the U.S. Experts say General Zhang's departure will create a leadership vacuum, making immediate military action against Taiwan unlikely, but that his ouster increases the chances of an attack in the medium to long term.
If this is indeed a political power grab by Xi Jinping, and if it means there are fewer constraints on Xi Jinping, in the medium term, I think this increases the likelihood of the use of force against Taiwan.
A self-ruled territory of 23 million people, Xi has long wanted to reunite Taiwan with China. Officials in Taipei say they're closely watching what they've called abnormal changes to China's military leadership.
To discuss further, we're joined by Lynette Ong, Distinguished Professor of Chinese Politics at the University of Toronto. Thanks so much, Lynette, for being with us on the programme. There are an awful lot of rumours in Beijing about what specifically led to this particular military purge. What do you think prompted it, given that General Zhang Youxia was a respected and well-known figure, described by many as a voice of reason in China?
There are many speculations and rumors that have been thrown around saying that, Wall Street Journal has reported that he has leaked nuclear secrets to the United States, which is a serious offense. There's also rumors saying that he is very corrupt and has unsuccessfully reined in corruption by him and his family. But I think the ultimate reason for removing someone so high up in the Central Military Commission, he's the second person in charge just below Xi Jinping, has to be the question about loyalty to President Xi, or the loyalty to the party. In this case, we could see that President Xi is really still cleaning out. So the official reason could be rooting out corruption, but the larger reason is he is trying to put in place people that he actually trusts in important positions. But then even with that reason, so many important people in their positions have been removed in recent years. One have to question his judgment. At what point is this reshuffling going to stop? Because it is creating a lot of instability in the system.
Yeah, because does this actually, in effect, strengthen, in a way, Xi's leadership by concentrating more power in his hands, or does it leave him more isolated and without reliable advisors surrounding him?
Yeah, you would think that, by removing all these deputies, his power is way more concentrated. But in actual fact, he himself cannot run China. He depends on many, many people to run this very huge country. And Zhang Youxia is the second person in charge of the Central Military Commission. So I'm sure he has a bunch of followers within the army, within the People's Liberation Army. So once he is purged, and Xi has purged 6 out of 7 people in the CMC, what happened to the followers? What happened to the followers in the army? Are they going to become loyal to Xi? Are they going to switch factions? And what are the different factions? These are the questions that people are actually asking. So overall, so overall, instead of making Xi's power more consolidated and more confident, I actually think that it actually destabilized his power base.
And there's a lot of questions as well about what this might mean, not just for China's military capacity, but also for the future of Taiwan. Some people believe this makes any kind of attack in the short term less likely, but that perhaps it's going to strengthen China's hand if she is perhaps thinking here of a longer term attack.
I would think in the short term, it makes an invasion on Taiwan less likely, because with an army in disarray, people do not know who is in charge. It makes any imminent attack on Taiwan very unlikely in the short term, I would think. But in the next couple of years, if President Xi could really successfully put in people that we don't see this revolving door, shuffling in and out, being removed 6 months after their appointment, he might have a chance of consolidating the army, then would make a military attack a lot more credible. But that is a big if question that is yet to come.
And will she be in any rush here to replace those that he's ousting in this purge? Do we have any idea at this point who might replace these generals?
We don't actually know. So they are kind of second batch of people serving in the army. I'm sure some of them Xi Jinping has been studying. But you have the question, usually people belong to certain factions. So once General Zhang Youxia has been removed, what happened to his faction? What happened to his followers? And so many people at the top have been removed. You would naturally think that people in the rank and file are actually very nervous, don't know which direction to follow, and who is actually in charge now other than President Xi. So maybe that is the actual message that he wants to send this sentiment of fear among the rank and file in the army, that everyone now must listen to him. There's no scope for any dissent at all.
We heard from the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio earlier saying Washington is watching developments closely. Has the US lost an important senior level contact here? Because the Chinese president had allowed Zhang to continue communicating with the US even after China had effectively cut off most communication after Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan.
I think whoever is allowed to communicate with the United States needs explicit consent of President Xi. So I don't think in that sense the US has lost an ally or whatever the term being used. I think the next thing to watch is who is he going to replace this group of high-level generals who have been removed in the last 2 years or so. And I think that is the key important questions to watch.
And Lynette, it's not just generals who are being targeted here. This appears to be part of a much broader anti-corruption drive that's resulted in about 200,000 officials being punished in some way or another since Xi came to power. So who exactly has been the main target here with all of this since 2012?
Yeah, so, a less cynical view would be that there is actually a lot of corruption in the Chinese system, which is, I'm sure, definitely true. Everyone has a skeleton in the closet because of the way that the system is half politically reformed. So it's very easy to to enrich yourself in that system. And sometimes one is forced to do so, even though you might be a righteous officer, right? But a most cynical way to look at it is that, in the first 5 years of President Xi's term, which is from 2013 to 2018, everyone kind of buy into the fact that he was trying to root out corruption. But as more and more people get removed from office, you have to wonder, does he really know what he is doing? If everyone is corrupt, then the formula being used to remove corrupt officials becomes somehow arbitrary, right? because not everyone who is corrupt is being removed. There are some people who is being spared. So that becomes a bit of a factional politics game. So I would think it's a combination of really rooting out corruption, factional politics, and I would even question President Xi's judgment. Right. I mean, there's many examples of him putting in place somebody in high up in the position. We see it 12, 18 months later, this person being removed from office. So does he really know who his followers are? Does he really know who is loyal to him? I think he's, sometimes not trusting his own judgment very much from the look of it.
And Lynette, the British Prime Minister is currently in China being hosted by President Xi, the latest in a string of Western leaders to visit China in the last few months. And there's speculation in the UK that, Keir Starmer might be there with a focus on trade, but really the priority for China, they might be looking at this as an opportunity to widen the crack in Western unity, given the current geopolitical situation. Would you agree with that view, or what do you think?
Yes, maybe widening the crack is not the way to put it, because it sounds as if there's a lot of intentionality in that. But our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, was just in Beijing 2 weeks ago, really out of necessity that in terms of kind of trade and economic partnership, we need to diversify from the United States and look to China. So I'm sure the UK Prime Minister has that in mind too. But we would think, a lot of that pivot to China, if I could put it that way, is really pushed by President Trump, his tariff war, his use of tariffs as punitive measures against his long-term allies over a bunch of issues, including disagreement over Greenland and other, rather, trivial and matters that he really has taken his traditional Western alliances for granted, and people are looking at buying insurance and taking, playing hedging policies in order to diversify some of the risks.
Lynette, thanks so much for all of that insight and analysis. We'll have to leave it there for now. That is Lynette Ong, Distinguished Professor of Chinese Politics at the University of Toronto in Canada.